I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Who is the lucky brunette?
Last name Beeswax, first name Nunia.
Oh, my third wife is biracial.
It's simple, really. First we...
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss.
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got him in with us today. Representative Walter Hudson. Love having him on. Representative, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Another week.
Another week, another scandal to be had. I just, almost need a scorecard. Just, okay, we got that one on Monday. Oh, last week we didn't get one till Tuesday. Just kind of keep track. What's the day we get the most scandals? And we'll talk about it in a second. But a couple things happened that I really wanted to talk to you about. One is X, old Twitter, and maybe folks who don't, I find it weird that I'm even on it, but I go on there, and you're one of my most followed persons on there, right? I watch you, and you get a ton of people, so I know you're all about the X. Did you see that X and Elon came out with this? You can look up where Walter Hudson's from as far as, what country you're from, and he made that part of X now. It just changed X, and for folks who don't know what I'm talking about, I follow this thing called Cat Turd. It's a guy, girl, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but anyway, pretty political guy, gal. And all of a sudden, there must have been 100 of these. Cat Turd was putting on, oh, by the way, General Washington 121, his handle is from Turkey. This guy, God bless the USA, is from Poland. And all of a sudden, these people are just deleting their X's. They've been found out. Your thoughts on the genius of that and that we're all being played?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. This has been one of the big problems with the internet and with X in particular. It's one of the reasons why Elon took it over. His first was wanting to have expanded access to free speech, but secondarily, he was concerned about bots. In this case, we're talking about people who are masking their identity in order to influence our culture, our discourse, and our elections. And the only downside to it is that you got to make a couple of clicks in order to find out where somebody's from. I think people have mentioned, and I think it's a good idea, having some sort of indicator, perhaps a flag right on the person's profile that shows where their account is based. And it's fantastic because, you should know whether you're being influenced by a fellow citizen when it comes to American politics or you're being influenced by a foreign operator.
So what maybe because I'm just so self-centered, you can tell me that. The amount of time, sir, that I spend worrying about, I'm just going to grab Turkey because that was the last one, that I worry about Turkey politics, zero. The idea that I would set up a Turkish X, God bless Turkey or whatever it would be, so I can are we really that flush? Are there people out there giving some of these guys, it sounded like they really were from America as far as they seem to understand politics, whether you agreed with them or not. Is that crazy? How much time do you worry about any other country's politics? Any?
Well, there's a number of reasons why people might, some more insidious than others, but the idea's been floating around for quite some time that our rivals on the global stage, whether it's China or Russia, have been in fact paying a lot of influencers to muddy up the discourse in order to cause division and dysfunction within American culture and American politics.
And this is one way of settling that down, because the number of those accounts that absolutely were taken down as soon as they were found out, but they just start up under another name, right? If you're not going to give up the line of work you're in, you're just going to hope people like, I don't know, keep saying Cat Turd. Cat Turd keeps calling you out. That's what some people's job is going to be, is to call you out. But I like the flag idea. That's actually a brilliant idea, by the way. Put a flag on there.
Yeah, well, I can't take credit for it. But yeah, I have to think that because people have brought up the VPNs and things that, you can project that you're from somewhere else. I have to imagine that Elon and the X folks have worked through a way to see through all that and figure out, because it also shows you where they last engaged from, what country they're engaging from, as well as where it started and all of that. So, will people be able to figure out some way around it? Maybe, but this initial wave of just uncovering, pulling back the curtain and seeing where all this influence is coming from is definitely a good thing.
All right. So that was a big change, especially if you're an ex-user. The next one is, in my opinion, seismic. And maybe there's some bigger thought behind it that Star Tribune's getting in front of something. Star Tribune today has a very large article about saying that publicly and now privately and publicly, Democrats are coming out and saying maybe Governor Walz going for a third term is going to hurt the party from governor on down. And across the state, it's going to be a drag on the ticket. Now, Representative Walter Hudson, you probably knew that all along. This may not be an actual news item, but the fact that Star Trib put it on the front page and have people talking about it, interviewed a few representatives and senators, there's something to this. If they're going to put it on the paper front page, they know there's issues out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, they would have to be completely inept to not know there's issues, but of course, there's a difference between knowing it and being willing to say it publicly. So yeah, I do think this signals that there is a fissure within the Democrat Party here in Minnesota. But that, like you say, that's not news to me. It is interesting that they're willing to acknowledge it publicly.
And the people that they interviewed who said it. Now, most of this that they're concerned with are outstate Minnesota people, right? Minnesota senators and reps that are running, because if you only won by a couple of hundred votes and you're going to be slapped up with this, as we started the show, one after the next, a fraud and that sort of thing, and your guy's not doing it, you can see losing a few hundred votes for that alone. I can see how outstaters are there. How do they hold that handle in Minneapolis and St. Paul? I think the story said in Hennepin and Ramsey County, if you take that out of there, it's a wash. Democrats would be wiped out.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I don't know how this is a problem that they can unwind, because even if they tried to pull a Biden-Harris deal and somehow take Walz out as the gubernatorial nominee and install someone else, who are you going to pick who's clean? Who are you going to pick who doesn't have some blame for the very same things that Walz has administered over? I mean, every elected person, unless you get somebody who's completely outside the entire political system, that might be plausible, but good luck. I don't know who would want to do that.
I thought one of the interesting lines in the article was, as much as a midterm should be about Trump, in Minnesota it might be about Walz. Yeah. As an example, there's another fraud case that came out today, according to KSTP. I'm going to just quick. U.S. Attorney's Office announced charges for the 77th defendant of Feeding Our Futures. Like, okay, 77, we're getting bored with it. This guy owned a thing called K Dollars in Deli. He was disqualified from SNAP because of fraud in 2015. They said, no, you're cheating the system. You're out. So in 2020, he filed for a federal child nutrition care program, the Feeding Our Futures, and got it. And millions upon it's like, if our governor and his staff, he doesn't pick these, cannot stop a group that has already been told, no, you can't get in the federal. If we can't stop that, what can we stop? And this is the 77th time. People are like, oh, okay, whatever. Tell me that, how do I put this? We don't have a list. There used to be, back, remember when people wrote checks and you go to some establishment and they'd have the guy's check up on the wall if he was writing bad checks, and it was like, and they sued because you're embarrassing me. Put bad checks on the wall. We don't even have a list of bad people that we already kicked off SNAP. Not business. This is a business, not a person. Kay's Deli can't have SNAP. We don't have that on the list. So when he applies for the next thing, we say no.
Yeah, well, this has been a big part of the fraud problem that's been discussed at length in our fraud committee in the House, that, there's a complete lack of communication, a complete lack of blacklisting, for lack of a better term, in terms of keeping track of bad actors and ensuring that they don't re-enter the system through some other means. Another way that this potentially goes down is, one organization gets stopped or dissolved for one reason or another, and the same people involved in that organization end up getting involved in a different one and reapply, and boom, they're back in business, right? Like it's just a mess, and it's the way the system was designed. It's the way it's been administered. It's the way it's been overseen, and all of that falls at the feet of Tim Walz. All of it.
Well, see, that's kind of my point about this. Everyone on your side obviously been pointing it, but it's got to be somebody's polling somewhere that the Star Trib will come out and make this a front page story. because you're absolutely right. You read this, if you read this story thoroughly, you're going to go, where in the world have we been? This isn't the start. The other one I wanted to just hit you quick before I go to break. What do you call NGOs? There's this NGO where some pastor got $1.8 million to go out in Minneapolis and tell people to stop fighting each other. They're like aggression stompers or some crazy stuff, and they get $35 an hour. And then he cheated the people that work for him. They're supposed to get 35. They got 20. Anyway, it's a whole thing. And I looked at myself and said, we pay pastors of churches to literally go on the streets and tell people not to fight. Isn't that, I'm sorry, I don't pay my pastor that here. We don't in my church here, but I'm pretty sure that's what he does. If some kids are fighting, he would walk. We don't do that here. We pay them to walk out on the street and say, you know what I'm saying? What am I missing here? That's the whole job. Is he saying, if you don't pay me, I won't be a good pastor? I will tell people go ahead and fight. What are we getting out of that?
Well, I don't know which pastor you're referring to, but I have had conversations with a pastor in North Minneapolis who was running one of these violence interrupter. That's what they call them.
That's the word I was looking. Yes,
organizations, and I take him on good faith that he was attempting to do good work in the community. And when I did it right along with MPD a couple of years ago, I saw an example of how this type of intervention can work. The problem with it is that it's the wild. It's the same thing with the fraud issue more generally, right? Is that it's the wild west in terms of how it's administered, in terms of who gets the money. There's no standards for conduct. There's no standards for who you're going to employ to. In fact, they want to have like formerly incarcerated people walking around doing this stuff. And so it's kind of like if you can imagine a world before fire departments, right?
Yeah.
And we started to come up with this vague idea of we should have a group of people who are sitting around to put out fires. And so instead of establishing the fire department and a fire code and all of these standards, instead we just started handing money to churches or groups and saying, you guys put out fires. Right.
Yeah.
With just like no instruction as to how to do it, no standards. Right. That's kind of where we're at with these criminal justice alternatives, whether you call it violence interruption or social workers or whatever the case may be. It's that at core, there might be a good idea here, but the way that it is being implemented under the Democrats is completely ludicrous.
And like feeding our futures or any of these, it seems we have no standard for 1.8. This guy 1.8 was the number. I don't know why it's six in my head. For $1.8 million a year, do you have to at least tell me what I get? We will be out 50 out of 52 weekends on a Friday and Saturday night, 100 people, and we'll be on corners saying, prayers. There was no what you got for 1.8. Did fights go down? Did crime go down? And if it does, we'll do it again next year. But there just seems to be, if you can get on that ticket, if you can get somebody in the house and put your name down and send you 1.8, you're golden until somebody figures it out that didn't do anything.
Listen, let's just be honest about all of this. Everything we've talked about, the whole fraud cauldron, it's just political patronage. That's all it is. It's paying people to be politically influential in their communities to rally votes for Democrats. That's all it has ever been.
Well, let's put this big bow on there then. Because of this story where we started in the Star Tribune putting on the front page, do you believe the average Minnesotan, and again, I don't know why Hennepin and Ramsey County aren't average, but the average Minnesotan, are we done enough with it to say we have to change? Do you get that feeling when you're out there? You're rolling your eyes. Radio doesn't do. You've got to be on TV because your face doesn't make. Well, that's mean to say. Your face doesn't make it for radio. You go ahead. Tell me what you're going to say.
I mean, I'm frustrated because look, we should have tossed Walz out in 22. And the fact that we didn't is just mind blowing to me after everything that he did under the pandemic. So the reasons are infinite in terms of why the people of Minnesota should oust not only Walz, but Democrats up and down the ticket. The question of whether or not they will is really up to them. I mean, once again, this last election, granted, it was an off-year municipal election for the most part, but once again, Republicans didn't show up. We had tens of thousands of Republicans who stayed home. If they do that next year, it doesn't matter how bad Walz is or how bad the Democrats are. They're going to hand the state back over to them.
All right. I got to go to break and run way late because I want to talk about all this. Representative Walter Hudson, I didn't mean that you had her face for radio. You got to be on TV because.
I know what you mean.
Okay, good. It's like, what a terrible thing to say. Back after this.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist. You need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
Think about it. Now that school's back in session, how are Minnesota students doing? Not very well. Minnesota ACT scores fell again last year and are the lowest they've been in 10 years. In fact, fewer than half of Minnesota students can either read or do math at grade level. Think about it. We used to brag about our schools. Now we're losing to states like Mississippi. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
Don't need to ask him his opinion more than once. Al Travis on the Al Travis Show.
And we've got him, the very handsome Representative Walter Hudson on the program. I'm going to give you this last one for the last couple of minutes to throw at you. It is the transparency. Here's the idea with the Star Trip putting this up. Evidently, of the 11 or the 12 things that the auditor found in the governor's and lieutenant governor's business, right? They went in and took a look around and said, yeah, there's some problems here. 11 of them got fixed pretty quick. But that's all you kind of heard. I'm like, well, what are the 12 issues there? One of them that I just sticking in my craw, the governor's mansion will rent out the governor's mansion for political things. They're allowed to do that. And I didn't know what reg of us could do that, but you can. 7 of the 9 events that were done there were not billed. 5 of the 7 were governor's or lieutenant governor's campaign stuff. That's not front page news. Representative Walter Hudson, they watch you like hog. If you were getting a free use of the hall via the governor's mansion, it'd be the front page of the paper. Tell me I'm lying.
I mean, I'd like to think so. And I have to go in and look at the details of all the regulations and what have you. But yeah, that definitely has the air, at least the optics of not being appropriate.
Well, they paid it. Once that came out, the AUL went in. They said, hey, wait a minute. Bills went out. Bills got paid instantly. That's one of the 12 they fixed right away.
Yeah.
Which only makes it stink more.
But what I think it shows is that just like with the Feeding Our Future defendants, right? Like when that story first broke, it seems like a million years ago now. But we were just taken aback by the audacity, right? Like the audacity of what they were willing to do. And this is similar to that. Like Democrats have been in charge for so long that they legitimately don't believe they're ever going to have to answer for anything.
I think
and that is an attitude that I see firsthand when I'm down at the Capitol. It comes off them in waves, this sense of arrogance that they own the place and that we're just visiting, right? And that's when you have that level of arrogance, why wouldn't you skirt the rules when your referees are the ones keeping score?
Calling the place. I got to go. We're out of time, but I like the idea that how long it's been. It seems like forever. That's why I think people are forgetting what happened during COVID. You mentioned how we didn't get rid of walls during the last COVID thing. Well, now it's so long ago. Remember, they kicked you out of your churches. You said you couldn't go to church because you sing, and then when you sing, you blow crap around. It's so far gone from there, but I'm out of time. Love having you on. Thank you, Senator. Representative. Appreciate it. Yep. Representative Walter Hudson on the Al Travis Show.